Everyone comes here for the $2 beers and that world-famous hospitality. They see the 5-star vlogs and think, I can live like a king for $1,000 a month. But in 2026, the tropical dream has a hidden cost that nobody puts in their budget spreadsheet. I call it the frustration tax. And trust me, it's the most expensive bill you'll ever pay. Because how much is your time worth when a 5-kilometer drive takes 2 hours? What's the price of your sanity when the luxury condo you just rented starts leaking? The power goes out in a 45-degree heat wave and the bank tells you the system is down for the 3rd time this week. The Philippines won't break your heart all at once. It does it slowly. One out-of-stock sign and one inconvenience at a time. And if you're planning to move here for the easy life, you're about 10 years too late. We're talking about 14% medical inflation, a real estate bubble that's pricing out the quality it promises, and a bureaucracy that hasn't left the 90s. Hi guys, it's Dee and welcome back to the channel. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. For today's video, we're discussing why the Philippines in 2026 is no longer the budget-friendly escape it used to be. Look, I love my country, but we also have to be honest. The Philippines is a land of extremes. You either have the high-end life, where you pay, Western prices for gated security and private hospitals, or you have the real life, where you're battling 14% healthcare inflation, a crumbling real estate bubble, and a bureaucracy that still runs on carbon paper and maybe tomorrow. And no, I'm not exaggerating about the carbon paper. The middle ground is disappearing, and if you aren't prepared for the system gridlock, this paradise will feel like a prison very quickly. Let's dive into the 20 reasons why you should think twice. Now, before we get into the list, I want to be very clear. I'm not here to give the Philippines a bad image. I love my home, but I love my audience more. And that means being 100% honest about what life is actually like on the ground. I am not scaring you away, I'm preparing you, and I still recommend visiting and seeing the beauty of the country for yourself, but of course there's a massive difference between a 2-week vacation and a 365-day commitment. You deserve the truth before you make that choice. To start with, here is reason number 1. Substandard building quality. You'll see a brand new glitzy condo in the brochures and think, luxury, but the reality is often structural shortcuts. In the Philippines, luxury usually refers to the lobby, not the actual unit. We're talking about paper-thin walls where you can hear your neighbor's TV, plumbing that fails during the first typhoon, and premium fixtures that are actually cheap imports. Because of the rapid pace of construction, developers often skip finishing details. And on top of that is maintenance is usually poor as well, and a complaint might go unheard or ignored even. And the sad thing is you aren't usually paying for quality. You're paying for the aesthetic of the quality, and within 2 years, many of these buildings start looking 10 years old. Reason number 2 is poor healthcare access and medical inflation. As I've mentioned earlier, while private hospitals like St. Luke's or Makati Med are world-class, the system as a whole is under massive strain. In 2026, medical inflation in the Philippines hit a staggering 14%. And if you don't have high-end international insurance, a single critical illness can wipe out your life savings in weeks. And beyond the major hubs, healthcare becomes a lottery. In the provinces, specialized treatment or specialized equipment is rare, and the medical brain drain means our best doctors and nurses are often working in the US or UK because they're underpaid here, leaving local facilities understaffed and overwhelmed. Reason number 3, the public transportation crisis. The government's Build Better More projects have turned cities into permanent construction zones, but the actual experience of getting around is worse than ever. The traditional jeepney is being phased out, yet the modern replacements are erratic and insufficient. And I think this is worth mentioning too, most of the public transpo and cars here belch black smoke. For an expat, public transit is essentially inaccessible due to a lack of clear routing and extreme overcrowding. And this leaves you at the mercy of Grab, a cab, or driving yourself, which leads to the next nightmare. Reason number 4 is the overpriced real estate bubble. The real estate market here in the Philippines is currently in a massive bubble. You will find 25 square meter shoebox condos in BGC or Makati priced at the rates that could get you a spacious apartment in Chicago or Madrid. And the problem is the value to price ratio. You are paying first world prices for third world infrastructure. You'll pay a premium for a view only for a new tower to be built 3 feet from your window 6 months later, blocking your light and killing your resale value. Reason number 5 is the ownership trap. This is the biggest hurdle for most Westerners. You cannot own land, period. Even with the new 2025-2026 long-term lease laws that allow 99-year agreements, you are essentially a glorified tenant, and the 99-year lease is only available for businesses. You're building your dream home or investment on someone else's soil, and this creates a legal vulnerability that is hard to stomach if the landowner decides to, make things difficult. You have very little recourse in a court system that is notoriously slow and biased towards locals. Number 6 is traffic and kamote driving culture. It's not just the volume of cars, it's the complete lack of predictability. The kamote, or sweet potato, driving culture, who are like drivers who ignore lanes, lights, and logic, makes every trip a high-stress endurance sport. In 2026, Metro Manila and Cebu are consistently ranked as having the worst traffic in the world. Expect a simple 5-kilometer trip to take, 90 minutes, and this isn't just an inconvenience at this point. It's a thief of time that drains your quality of life every single day, and it could be very exhausting. Reason number 7, the 45 degrees Celsius heat index. The tropical paradise image falls apart when the heat index hits 45 or 40 or 50 degrees Celsius. And recently, record-breaking heat waves have become the new normal, forcing schools to close and the power grid to red alert. If you move here, thinking you'll be outdoorsy, realize that for most of the year, you will be a prisoner to your air conditioner. The heat is thick, humid, and exhausting, and it makes doing even basic chores feel like a marathon. Reason number 8 is the chronic flooding and drainage failure. Our urban drainage systems were built for a population a fraction of our current size, and on top of that, billions of taxpayer funds are gone through corruption just by flood control projects alone. And it doesn't take a typhoon to cause a disaster here. 1 hour of heavy afternoon rain can turn a major highway into a river. If you pick the wrong neighborhood, your car, your lobby, and your street will be underwater. This leads to a massive property damage and paralyzes the city for hours, leaving you stranded in the middle of a lake of sewage-tainted water. Reason number 9 is the out-of-stock epidemic. Logistics in an archipelago of 7,000 plus islands is a nightmare. Whether it's a specific blood pressure medication, a part of, your European car, or even your favorite brand of imported cheese, get used to this phrase. Out of stock, sir. Efficiency is not a priority here. Supply chains are fragile, and if a ship is delayed or a port is congested, you might wait weeks or months for basic items. Reason number 10 is the stray animal overpopulation and noise. The stray dog and cat population is a massive, unaddressed public health issue. Beyond the heartbreaking sight of malnourished animals, there's also the noise. Between the barking, the 4 a.m. roosters, even in urban areas, and the 24/7 karaoke culture, peace and quiet is a myth. If you're sensitive to noise or have sensory issues, the constant assault of mufflers and music will drive you crazy. On top of this is the fact that some Filipinos lack the basic social etiquette to turn down their phone's volume when watching TikToks in public places. And forget about personal space too, because it doesn't exist here. Reason number 11 is inefficient bureaucracy and red tape. Because every interaction with the government is a test of patience. We're talking about a system that requires 5 signatures, 3 sets of photocopies, and long folders, and a come back tomorrow attitude. While there are attempts of digitization, the manual mindset is still very much alive. A simple visa extension or business permit can take up your entire week, requiring, multiple trips to offices that may or may not have working AC that day. And don't forget to wear long pants and collared shirt in a government office because, the Philippines cares about perceived image over functionality. Reason number 12 is the high levels of corruption. Corruption is an invisible tax on everything. It's the padulas or grease money requested to expedite your papers, the extra fee for a driver's license, for the visa, and the high-level scandals that divert billions from infrastructure to private pockets. As an expat, of course, you are a target because, people assume you have money to burn, and you will often find yourself in situations where the rules suddenly change unless a payment is made. Or suddenly, things flow smoothly because you accidentally left a 1,000 peso bill in your passport. You didn't hear that from me. Reason number 13 is the trash and waste crisis. Waste management is failing and has failed for years. From trash mountains in places like Binalio to plastic-clogged waterways, the lack of systemic recycling and disposal is very heartbreaking. You'll be, in a beautiful beach one moment and see a tide of plastic sachets the next. The country is struggling to handle its own waste, and as a resident, you'll deal with the smell, the sights, and the health risks of burning trash in your neighborhood. Reason number 14, unwalkable cities. The Philippines is designed for cars, not people. Sidewalks are either non-existent, used as parking lots, or interrupted by open manholes and utility poles, or homeless people sleeping, or an extra lane for scooters. Anything but for a person, And in the heat, walking even 3 blocks is an obstacle course. This lack of walkability forces a sedentary lifestyle where you go from your AC condo to an AC car to an AC mall. It's bad for your health and even worse for your sense of community. Number 15, the scam culture, dual pricing, and the love trap. From ATM skimming and Facebook marketplace fraud to dual pricing at local markets, the foreigner tax is very real. In many places, you aren't seen as a neighbor, you are seen as a walking ATM. But in 2026, the scams have moved way beyond the marketplace. They've moved into the heart, for years too. We have to talk about the romance scam industry. There's a dark side to the Filipina and foreigner dream where men are targeted by professional scammers and non-professional too, often women supported by their entire families who treat a relationship like a business transaction. They'll play the long game, building, trust and love, only for the emergency bills to start rolling in. The sick relative, the tuition fee, or the house repair that never ends. As an expat, you have to be on guard 24/7, whether it's, checking your change at the grocery store, verifying your bills, or questioning if a friendly stranger or even a potential partner is genuine. The mental load is very heavy. This constant state of hyper-alertness is exhausting, and it can make it incredibly difficult to build real, honest trust with anyone when you're always wondering if you're being loved for who you are or for what's in your bank account. Reason number 16 is the psychological toll of extreme poverty here. You cannot live in a bubble here. You will see families living in shanties right next to billion-peso towers. Seeing children, begging in traffic while you sit in your car takes a massive psychological toll. It's a constant heavy reminder of the systemic inequality you're living in. And for many expats, the guilt and the sight of suffering eventually becomes too much to handle. Reason number 17 is the unreliable and expensive electricity. The Philippines has some of the highest electricity rates in Asia, often higher than the US, I think. Yet, the service is abysmal, and that shouldn't surprise you. Brownouts or power outages are a regular occurrence, especially during the summer months when the grid is pushed to its limit. If you work online, a high-quality generator or power station isn't an option. It's a survival requirement, and yes, running the generator will cost you a fortune in fuel. Number 18, unregulated noise pollution. There are no effective quiet hours because, whether it's a neighbor's modified muffler at 2 a.m., a construction site that starts at dawn, or a barangay event with speakers at 110 decibels, you have almost no legal protection against noise. The culture here is live and let live, which sounds nice until you haven't slept in 3 days because of a local disco. There are local noise ordinances in many areas, it's just rarely enforced. Reason number 19 is the poor customer service and lack of empowerment. Let's talk about the most polite frustration you will ever experience. People here are incredibly kind, but politeness is still not the same as empowerment. In most businesses, staff are trained to follow a rigid script and not to solve your problem. If there's a double charge on your card or a broken item in your delivery, don't expect a manager to step in and fix it. Expect a "sorry po," a shy smile, and a shrug that basically says, "the computer says no and I'm not allowed to argue with the computer." And then there is the legendary Philippine chicken logic. You'll go to a fast food chain and ask for a one-piece chicken meal. The staff will look at you dead in the eye and say, "Sorry, sir, one-piece chicken is out of stock, but the two-piece chicken meal is available." Make it make sense. And the last but not the least, reason 20, overpriced substandard life. When you add it all up, the high cost of power, the private healthcare premiums, the overpriced rent for a leaky condo, and the constant frustration tax, the Philippines isn't the budget destination it was 10 years ago. In 2026, you're paying a premium price for a life that is often substandard in its reality and quality. And for many, the math simply doesn't justify the move anymore. I know this video was heavy, but I love my country enough to want people to come here with their eyes wide open. Moving here is a massive gamble. If you have the patience of a saint and enough money to buy your way out of these problems, you might absolutely love it. But if you're looking for an easy escape, you're going to find a very different reality. At the end of the day, everyone's experience is unique. You might move here and deal with every single point on this list, or if you're lucky and you pick the right city and area in it, you might experience almost none of them. There is a reason so many expats still call the Philippines home and wouldn't live anywhere else. The community, the resilience, the natural beauty are the things you can't always put a price on. I just want to make sure that if you do decide to call this place home, you're doing it because you love the real Philippines, not the one from a filtered travel brochure. What's the biggest deal breaker for you on this list? Or did I miss one? Maybe you live here and your experiences has been totally different. I want to hear that too. Let's talk about it in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more unfiltered truth about life in the Philippines. This has been Dee, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! From ATM skimming and Facebook Marketplace lifestyle, well, this live the neighbor